if you're not Jewish, this holiday commemorates the liberation of the Israelites about 3,200 years ago from slavery or the bondage in ancient Egypt and the journey to freedom. The week of celebration and remembrance starts off with a dinner and 5 glasses of wine. As you all know, I'm all about the wine. And in the spirit of understanding people of another culture, I thought it a good idea to take a look at this dinner and the wines. So I've done some research and want to share what I have found with you all. Are you ready to join me? Come on, let's go. Posse, I'm Pierre, and welcome to Asti Wine Consultants. Wine is an integral part of the Passover Seder, which is the special commemorative meal held on the first 2 nights of the Passover holiday. To begin with, Passover represents one of the 10 miraculous signs that God performed about 3,200 years ago to free the Israelites from bondage of Egypt. As the historic account goes, each family was to paint blood from a lamb on the doorposts of their homes to signify that they were one of God's chosen. During that night, the Israelites ate dinner while the angel of God enacted justice on the hard-hearted Egyptians. The angel of death passed over those homes where the blood of the lamb, the Passover lamb, had been painted on the doorpost. So nowadays, during the Passover Seder, 5 cups of wine are poured for each person there. The first 4 are meant to represent the blood of the lamb those many years ago. Each of those 4 cups represent one of the 4 expressions of deliverance that are mentioned in the book of Exodus. Now, the book of Exodus is a section of the Jewish and Christian Bible. Here God says to the Jewish people, I will bring you out, I will deliver you, I will redeem you, and I will take you as my people. Now, shifting gears just a little bit, let's walk through some of the other ways that wine is included in the Passover tradition. Now, wine is a symbol of joy and celebration in Jewish tradition. It represents the joy of freedom from slavery and the hope for a better future. Now, so personally, I believe that this freedom and hope is something that we all can embrace. The act of reclining on a pillow while drinking the wine signifies the freedom and comfort that the Israelites gained after the liberation. The first cup of wine is called the Kaddish cup and is used to sanctify or usher in the holiday and the Seder meal. Basically, the head of the household or the leader of the Seder recites a blessing and drinks from the Kaddish cup to mark the beginning of the Seder. This blessing expresses gratitude for the fruit of the vine and the celebration of freedom. Now, during the Seder, the 10 plagues of Egypt that God used to free the Israelites from Egypt are remembered. As each plague is cited, participants traditionally spill a drop of wine from their cups. This symbolic gesture reflects the idea that even in times of triumph, there is still sorrow for the suffering of other people. I think, wow, there's such tremendous wisdom and power and humility in this beautiful symbolic gesture. Now, the 5th cup is known as the Elijah cup. Elijah was one of the great prophets of Israel whose main message was about the coming Messiah, the Christ. This cup is sometimes filled with wine and left untouched to symbolize the hope for the coming Messiah. It's customary to open the door of the Seder meal to welcome in the prophet Elijah. So there are many powerful, beautiful ways that our Jewish friends use wine. Now, before I wrap all this up, there's one final, very remarkable layer to this whole thing. All this began approximately 3,200 years ago. About 1,200 years later, or about 2,000 years ago, Jesus began his ministry. The very last Old Testament prophet, who was Jesus' cousin, name was John. John called Jesus the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. Now, because Jesus was a devout Jew and it was Passover, the last meal that Jesus ate right before his crucifixion was the Passover Seder. Christians call that the Last Supper or the Lord's Supper. This is so cool because, and listen to this, one of the last things that Jesus said to his friends was, every time you drink from this glass of wine and eat some bread, remember me. Remember what I have done for you. The next day, Jesus was crucified. He, Jesus, the Lamb of God, shed his blood. As Elijah and many of the prophets of old had predicted long before Jesus' birth, was 3 days after Jesus was crucified, he would be resurrected from the dead. Christians call that Easter Sunday. This is a tremendous time of year for two of the great world religions, and this is a great time for us to find common ground. The Jewish Passover commemorates the liberation of the Israelites from physical bondage to ancient Egypt, plus their long journey to freedom. The Christians' Last Supper and the Easter resurrection symbolizes the freedom from the spiritual bondage of sin and an abundant life. Interestingly, over 3,200 years, we've had basically the same story being told. Liberation from bondage. Let me ask you a question. What is it you're in bondage to? Is it physical? Is it spiritual? During this season, it may not be a bad idea for Christians to embrace their Jewish roots and in some way celebrate our common heritage, our Passover heritage. Folks, no matter your religious persuasion, as you raise a glass of wine and have a little bit of something to eat, express and usher in gratitude for the blessings of your physical, emotional, and spiritual freedom, plus the joy of community and the beauty of tradition. And don't forget, when you do this, remember what's been done for you. Hey Posse, thanks so much for investing the time to watch this video. I trust it was helpful to you. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And please consider hitting subscribe. Oh, and be sure to check out these other videos. Until next time, cheers.